G'day guys, welcome to another episode from Depot Adventures. Today I am answering the question, which state is Victoria in? We'll get onto that in just a moment. I'm Hugo and I'm a tour guide from Depot, and you might have noticed that I'm actually inside today. It's not just because it's raining out there, it's because we're in another lockdown situation. So it might be fair to say that currently we are in a state of emergency. No? Not funny. All right. Actually, Melbourne is in the state of Victoria. So if that's all you wanted to know, good. Next video. If you want to learn a little more about Victoria and the city of Melbourne, well, just hang around a few minutes because I'm going to hit you with some history, with some facts. Now, to learn about the history of Victoria, first we have to go back some tens of thousands of years. The area that we know Victoria as today was really comprised of about 25 or so different indigenous nations, as we would call them, themselves comprising of up to hundreds or more different Aboriginal tribes or large family groups. Now, that all changes in 1770. That is the year that a man called Captain James Cook, he comes to the east coast of this country and he claims it for the British Empire. Now, just a few years later in 1788, ships are sent out from Britain full of British prisoners, and they arrive in Sydney Harbour to start officially the start of this colonisation of the country. Now, where we are in Melbourne is down south, the southeast corner of the country, hundreds of miles and kilometres away from Sydney, and our history is a bit different because Melbourne does not begin as a convict settlement, as a penal colony, as we might say. Our history almost went that way, but I'll tell you why it differed. You see, in 1803, they had tried to send a convict settlement or penal colony to the southeast of this state, to a place called the Mornington Peninsula. Now, what they found after a few months of being there is they couldn't grow their crops. There wasn't a reliable fresh water source. So they moved and went down to Tasmania. This area that was then known as the Port Phillip district remained uninhabited by white people for another 30 odd years until one man in particular, a man called John Batman. He came up here on behalf of the Port Phillip Association to try and claim the land for those people. Now, he actually wrote up a contract. He presented it to some of the local indigenous people here and went back to Tasmania, claiming that he now owned 600,000 acres of land around here, and therefore he was the richest landowner in the world. Settlers started to slowly arrive from that point onwards in 1835, and by the 1850s, we were still a pretty small outpost of a colony of Britain, but things start to change. You see, we realised by the 1850s that, we're a bit different here in Melbourne, and it would be easier at that point to have a whole separate state because we are still part of the state of New South Wales, or the colony rather, at that time of New South Wales. So an application is basically put in towards the British government. The Queen agrees that we have the rights to be our own colony down here. It is signed off by her, and in 1851, we are now the newest state of Australia, the second state, in fact, or colony of Victoria. Yay! Go Victoria. Now, what is very, very convenient for us is that gold is discovered in this new state just a few days later. It means thousands, or not even thousands, billions of dollars of gold money flows into this state and comes to Melbourne, now the capital of Victoria. Had we not become a new state, that gold money would have gone to Sydney. So there's this friendly rivalry between Melbourne and Sydney, and it starts all the way back in the 1850s. Today, Melbourne has become the second largest city in Australia, and in fact the second largest city in this whole region, but things are changing. The rate of population of growth of Melbourne and Sydney means that Melbourne's population will expected to overtake Sydney in just a few years, a decade or so. So stay tuned because Melbourne, the capital of Victoria, will soon be the largest city in the country. I hope you've learned something today, guys. And if you have, well, feel free to press that subscribe button because there is plenty more of these videos coming to you. Give us a like and stay tuned because there are more videos on the way. Thanks very much. See you later.